I'm going to talk about something that people don't usually talk about in KDP. And this will show you how I built a profitable $1.3 million KDP empire. So my name is Dorian. Let's get this out of the way. This is one of my KDP accounts. As you can see, it's a real account. And that 1.3 million, that represents over $3 million in book sales. And another thing I want to say about that is I still made $1 million even when you take into account advertising. So whatever I made minus the advertising costs, it's still well over $1 million. So this is something that a lot of publishers get wrong about profitability, and we're going to look at it really closely. $10,000 a month in royalties is a fantastic goal, and if that's your goal, I encourage you, go for it. It's doable, it'll take energy to get there, and I know you can do it. I've done it, so I know you can. But I want to point out that if you're spending $10,000 a month on ads, you're not making $10,000 per month. You're making $0 per month. This is a really big misconception that a lot of KDP authors seem to have. I've spoken with a lot of people in the 3 months since I started my channel, and I've been really surprised at how much people spend on advertising. There seems to be a common misconception that you need to lose money through spending a lot on advertising in the hopes that eventually you'll start making it back through organic sales. There may be a tiny grain of truth to that for some people, but for 90% of the publishers out there, this is a false belief. I'm here to tell you it's just not true. If you're still losing money after a few months after launching your book, then you've got a problem and you need to change what you're doing, and you really need to control your spending. For a healthy KDP business in 2024, you probably want to be spending about 1/3 of your money on advertising, 1/3 of your royalties on advertising. So if you make $10,000 in royalties, you probably want to be spending around $3,000 or a little more on advertising. Preferably less, right? You want to have a high return on advertising spend. But even if you spend 1/3, then at least you're getting a 2-to-1 ROAS, which is healthy for KDP. So how do you get to this point where you're only spending 1/3 of your money on ads? Well, that's on the book level. So you need to know your profit margin, your A costs, the amount of money it takes to make a sale through advertising, the ratio of organic sales to paid sales, and a couple other numbers. And if you do that, then you can control your costs and actually make money instead of spending it all on advertising. So I actually talk about this in a video here on my channel. This is the video right here. It's KDP Economics. And if you haven't already seen that, I highly encourage you to watch that. I explain everything, and after watching it, you'll know exactly what you do to control your costs and make a profit from your book. Now, getting back to the business level, you need to keep track of the numbers in your business. And there are 6 numbers that you need to track every month. So this is something that I do, and this is my secret for how I grew a profitable business. On the first day of every month, I sit down and I take 5 to 10 minutes and I jot down 6 numbers. These are the numbers. I write down my KDP royalties. I also note my book production costs. Now that's hiring a writer, editor, proofreader, cover designer, formatter. Anything that goes into the cost of making a book, I put here in this bucket. Contractors. So anything that I paid to my VAs who do things like get reviews for me, manage the people that are making books for me, or anything else that a contractor or VA does for me that's not already accounted for in book production, I put here. And then there's ad spend. And what I mean by that is how much I'm spending on Amazon ads. And then there's other marketing costs. So that could be things like TikTok or Facebook ads or any other kind of promotion that you're doing that costs money. You put into this bucket right here. And then the final number is the time that you spent on your business. So if you are doing this as a side hustle and you spend 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, then you're spending about 40 hours per month. So you just make a note of that. So here are some realistic numbers. I made these up. These are not my numbers, but they are reasonable numbers based on my experience in KDP. You know, you could be making this much. You might be spending this much on book production costs, might be spending this much on ad spend, et cetera, et cetera. So there are two numbers here that I want to show you how to get. The first is your royalties, and it's really easy. You go to your KDP account, you click on Reports, click on Royalty Estimator, click on the date range, choose a date, and you want to choose last month, presuming that you're doing this on the first day of a new month, right? And then make sure that you're looking at all the books, not just compare books. And then that'll give you a number. And this is your estimated royalties, but that's good enough for what we need right now. This obviously is a made-up number, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're going to put that here, and never mind that it's a different number. The second number you need to get is going to be your ad spend. And the way to get that is you go to your ads console, you click here on the date range, you choose last month, apply, and then make sure that you've got the right date range. Make sure also that you're not filtering anything down here because you want to show all of your ads for that month. And then your spend is the number that we're going to work with. You're going to find that either up here or down here in the column headers. So what do we do with these numbers? It only took a couple minutes to get them. Well, we put them into this spreadsheet. This is a P&L, also known as a profit and loss. This is a pretty standard business spreadsheet that your accountant or an investor or somebody would look at to see a picture of their business health and to see it over time. Now, I've simplified this for a KDP business, and it's really very simple. And all this is your revenue and your expenses and then your net profit. So everything up here is your revenue. Everything here, this is your expenses. And then down here, this is your net profit. And then we look at it through time. So we got January, February, March, etc., until the end of the year. So let's start filling this out, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's say that our royalties in January were this number right here. Now, I know that when I showed you how to get these numbers, it showed August, but don't worry about that. We're just going to put these numbers in January because it's easier to show. We put this number here, and if there's any other income from other distribution or other KDP accounts, we put that in there too. Book production costs, put that here. Contractors, put that here. Ad spend, and put that here. Other marketing costs, well, that goes here. And then the time that you spent, we're going to put that here. Now you'll notice that there are a couple of extra rows. One of those is software. My software costs tend to be around $300 a month. Yours might be $20 a month. I don't know, but I put in $150 here. So software could be things like Microsoft Word, Adobe Photoshop or other products, Puppy, Canva, Helium 10. Those are some of the things that I use, and there may be others that you include in there as well. And this tends to be the same every month, so it doesn't vary a lot, if at all. So I just leave it here, and it's stable. And that's why that's not a number that I try to, look at every month. Okay. Now there's one other number that we need to put in here, and that's the value of your time. How much is your time worth per hour when you're making money? So if during your job or during your other business or whatever activity that you do to make money besides KDP, how much do you make there? That's the number that you would put in here. A lot of the people that I talk to, I kind of get the feeling that they're probably around the $50 per hour mark in their other activities. So I put that here as an example, but some people are way higher, some people are lower. Just whatever your number is, you can put that here. And what that does is it'll take the time that you spent and multiply this number to arrive at your opportunity cost or the dollar value of the time that you spent, because your time isn't free and it's non-refundable. So you might as well account for it And so that's where this goes. And then finally, there's one more row, and that's the cost of replacing you in the business. So for anything that's repetitive, you can turn that into a process. And a process is something you can give to somebody else. So there's a term for that. It's called SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. And so if you have those things, you can give them to a VA. And there are countries in the world, like in the Philippines and some other places, where the cost of living and the strength of the US dollar is such that you can pay them $10 an hour. And that's really at the top of the range of what they could expect to get for a job there. So you're paying them very well according to how things are in their country. That's what a lot of people in this business do. And it's a really great way to outsource things that you don't need to do. So this number here is what you would spend if you were outsourcing a lot of these tasks that you're doing to someone else. And by the way, this is what an investor would look at. They would not look at your cost. They would only look at what it would cost to replace you in the business. And that's how you would arrive at a valuation. And I'll show you that later on. So let's look at the story of this business. We already put some numbers in for January. And in January, we made a slight profit of $528. And then in February, we made less money and we had the same amount of expenses almost. And so we made a loss. So anytime you see red here, that means that we lost money. And in this business, we lost a fair amount of money, mostly during the early months of the year when we were making books. So if we look at this, we can see that we spent $1,500 a month. So that's one book produced every month for the first 6 months of the year. That's pretty typical of a lot of publishers. They'll produce a lot of books in the first half of the year and then spend a few months optimizing those books so that in Q4, when the big Christmas wave comes, that they can cash in and make a lot of money, hopefully. So likewise, ad spend goes up in November and December, and it's also pretty high in January, whereas it's pretty low for the rest of the year. At least that's what I've seen in my business, my multiple accounts and other people's accounts. This tends to hold true. It really depends on the niche, depends on your business, but this is a pattern that I've noticed. So the results of all this is that by the end of the year, this publisher made about $5,000 in profit. Now that's accounting for $24,000 of getting paid for his or her time, right? So like they already got paid. And on top of that, they made a $5,000 profit. But if they had turned their business into a system and they outsourced a lot of the repetitive tasks to a VA, then they would have made a lot more money. So instead of a $5,000 profit, they would have made an outright profit of about $24,000. So this is what this looks like in a chart. And this tells a story of the business. Made a little bit of money in January, lost some money in February, lost more money, lost more, then started making money. And then in December made a bunch of money, which compensated for the losses and ended up giving us a profit. So what did we learn from this? Well, we learned that there are several months where the expenses were really kind of high compared to the royalties. So to me, this is not a good picture. To me, I would want to increase my royalties, really maximize them, and I would try to look for ways to minimize book production and other expenses, primarily book production. So this is kind of expensive for someone who's just starting out or who's making not very much in royalties. If we take that book production out of the picture, then we're doing way better, right? So let me replace that. All this shows is that this particular publisher really put a lot of money up front in the year and lost a lot of money and was taking a risk because if they didn't make up for it at the end of the year, then they would have been out of pocket, which is not a situation that you want. If you're just starting out and you don't already have good cash flow from KDP, then you got to find a way to minimize how much you spend to make books so that you can kind of climb the ladder and keep increasing your profits. So if you're making healthy profits, then you can spend more money to make more money. But if you're just starting out and you're spending a lot of money and you're at a loss, then that can be risky. That's all I'm saying. It can be risky, and it's up to you what you do, but I wouldn't do that. Okay, the last thing I want to mention here is the valuation. So today you can go to a website like Empire Flippers or Flippa or some of the other marketplaces, and you can see KDP businesses that are up for sale and people are buying them. And typically investors will buy a KDP business for between 30 to 40 times its average monthly profit during 12 months. So for this business, we calculated the average monthly profit based on what a VA would have cost to replace you. And so that's these numbers here. And the profit was $24,000 by the end of the year. And so the average monthly profit was $2,000. So if we take the exact middle of valuation multiples, so that would be 35 times the average monthly profit, then this business would be worth $70,000. That means that you could list your business for maybe a little bit more than that, and it would sell for maybe about this or maybe a little bit less than this. And that's a pretty accurate valuation of a KDP business. And it's based on good data. And not only does this data give you a valuation, but it helps you understand where your business is going and where you need to focus your attention to turn any losses into profits so that at the end of the year, you end up with a ton of money. If you'd like a copy of this P&L so that you can analyze your own business, I put a link in the description below, and I'm happy to give this to you for free. There's no obligation. Just let me know you want it, and you'll get it. This is the same P&L that I use with my coaching students, and we're already having fantastic results using this. So I'm in the process of turning around multiple accounts and also improving and optimizing several other accounts so that my students make more money. This is a super effective tool. I hope that you got something out of this video. If you would like my help to coach you so that you can make more money with KDP, either to turn your business around or to improve on the profits, or simply to teach you the fundamentals so that you know what to do for the next few years so that you can grow your business to your goal, then reach out to me. I'm available for one-to-one coaching. I also have a course that I'm working on that should be out pretty soon, so that'll be another opportunity to work with me in that course. Thanks again for watching. If you want to subscribe, hit whatever buttons you need to, and I'll talk to you later.